The hospital's night shift had a peculiar stillness, the kind that settled deep into the walls and whispered through the corridors. It was just after 2:30 a.m., and most of the patients were asleep. The fluorescent lights flickered softly overhead, casting a pale glow over the nurses' station. Jenna, Carla, and Morella, 3 nurses who had worked this shift together for months, were going about their routines. They moved between the rooms, checking vitals, adjusting IVs, and quietly sharing stories to keep the drowsiness at bay. The intercom occasionally crackled with minor requests, but nothing out of the ordinary. Jenna was the first to notice it, a faint metallic clanging sound echoing from the far hallway near the supply room. She glanced at Carla and tilted her head. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Carla shrugged, engrossed in updating patient charts. Jenna grabbed her keycard and said, "I'll check it out real quick," her voice casual, unaware that it would be the last thing she'd say to them. She disappeared around the corner, her footsteps quickly fading. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Carla frowned and stood up. "She's probably chatting with security," she mumbled, though unease was growing. "I'll go get her." Carla took the same path down the corridor, her shoes squeaking slightly on the polished linoleum. As she walked past dim, empty rooms, the hall grew strangely cold. The supply room door stood open. Inside, nothing but silence. Carla stepped in slowly, the door creaking behind her, and never came out. Back at the station, Morella was now alone. She radioed both of them, no answer. Half an hour later, she stood at the corridor entrance, staring into the same darkness. The clock read 3:12 a.m. Fear prickled her skin. Something was wrong. Still, she took a breath and followed the same path as her friends, into the silence that swallowed them all. Minutes later, the hallway stood empty, quiet as ever. The nurse's station light blinked gently on, unnoticed by anyone. The morning after the nurses vanished, panic quietly spread through the hospital. No alarms had gone off. No distress calls had been made. Their belongings were still at the station, coffee cups half full, chart notes unfinished, personal phones untouched. Security was called first, then the police. By midday, yellow tape stretched across the East Wing hallway, sealing off the corridor where they had last been seen. Detective Ron Keller took lead on the case, standing in the staff lounge that now served as a temporary command post. He reviewed grainy security footage, Jenna walking down the hallway at 2:37 a.m., Carla following at 2:49. Then nothing. Morella never even appeared on the cameras past 3:10 a.m. Oddly, the footage cut out for nearly 10 minutes after Carla entered the corridor. The system then restarted as if nothing had happened. The techs insisted it wasn't a glitch, but no one could explain it. Search teams combed the hospital from top to bottom. Dogs were brought in. Every patient room, broom closet, and staff locker was opened and searched. The basement, used mostly for storage, was cleared within hours, except one corner, partially walled off due to ongoing maintenance. No one had gone back there in months, staff claimed. But when police pried it open, they found nothing except water damage and rusted shelving. Rumors soon began to spread among staff. Some said they'd heard whispers coming from the vents late at night. Others spoke of lights flickering or sudden drops in temperature in that wing. A few remembered a story about a patient who had gone missing there years ago, but no one could verify it. The hospital resumed operation with reduced staff, but the atmosphere changed. No one volunteered for night shifts anymore. The police kept a presence on site for weeks, but no new evidence surfaced. The hallway remained closed, quietly collecting dust as the mystery deepened and fear began to root itself in every shadowed corner. 6 months passed. The nurse's case went cold, archived among dozens of missing person files that never found resolution. The hospital wing where they vanished remained closed, its silence a quiet memorial that staff avoided unless absolutely necessary. Elsewhere in the city, life moved on, until a crew of municipal sewer workers was dispatched to investigate a blockage deep beneath the hospital district. It was an ordinary Tuesday when they arrived, their orange vests illuminated by harsh work lights set up along the access point. The main sewer line under that section of the city had been backing up for days. What started as a routine clog soon turned unsettling. As they descended into the damp tunnel, the air grew thick, heavy with a stench far worse than usual. The lead worker, Tony, shined his flashlight down the pipe where the blockage was reported. Something strange protruded from the filth, part of a torn cloth tangled in sludge. He called over another worker, and together they began clearing the area. With gloved hands and tools, they pulled free the cloth, revealing a pale, stained scrap of fabric that once might have been part of a medical uniform. At first, they exchanged nervous glances but said nothing. But when Tony reached further into the mess, his hand struck something solid. He tugged, and something shifted beneath the grime with a wet, sickening sound. A nurse's ID badge surfaced, the photo water damaged but still clear enough to make out the name, Carla Benning. Another worker gasped. Then came the zipper from a uniform top, torn and corroded. They radioed for police immediately. As officers arrived, the team kept working, uncovering more items, bits of shoes, latex gloves, and finally, something that brought the site to a standstill, a partial human jawbone embedded in a tangle of surgical tubing. Forensics arrived within hours, sealing off the area. The discovery stunned the city. What were medical items and human remains doing in a sewer line far below ground? And why only pieces, no full bodies? Investigators traced the pipe back to an outdated drainage system that no longer appeared on city blueprints. Its origin point, beneath the hospital, near the very wing where the nurses had vanished. With the discovery in the sewer making headlines, investigators returned to the hospital with renewed urgency. City engineers unearthed forgotten blueprints from the 1960s, revealing something everyone had missed, a now sealed-off sub-basement level built beneath the east wing. It wasn't on modern schematics, nor accessible through any known staircase or elevator. According to the old plans, it was once used for overflow medical research during a period of expansion, then quietly shut down decades ago. No one currently working at the hospital even knew it existed. Demolition teams were brought in to breach the foundation beneath the east wing. What they found sent chills through every investigator present. Behind crumbling concrete and rusted piping was a stairwell, steep and narrow, leading downward into pitch darkness. The air grew colder with each step, thick with dust and the scent of decay. At the bottom, a rusted steel door groaned open into a forgotten world. The room inside was long and narrow, lined with old hospital beds, some still holding decaying restraints. The walls were a yellowed green, paint peeling like old skin, and covered in strange markings that didn't match any standard hospital code. In one corner stood a rusted operating table beneath a cracked surgical light, crusted with something dark that had long dried. Cabinets were filled with outdated instruments, scalpels, bone saws, vials labeled with faded handwriting. A broken intercom speaker hung from the ceiling, wires exposed and frayed. Then came the worst discovery. In a side room, a large metal hatch led directly to the same drainage tunnel the sewer workers had cleared. Police followed the route and confirmed it lined up perfectly. This was the source. The connection was undeniable. Forensics teams swept the area, uncovering fragments of uniforms, bones, and even strands of hair caught in the rusted drain. One wall had photos taped to it, blurred, almost impossible to recognize, but with hospital ID stickers attached. Among them were the faces of Jenna, Carla, and Mirella. What had happened down there remained unclear, but one thing was certain, they hadn't left the hospital that night. Something, or someone, had dragged them down into this hidden place. As investigators sealed the area again, the weight of the truth lingered. The hospital had harbored a secret for decades, buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and neglect. Now, uncovered at last, the silence that once swallowed the nurses had finally begun to speak.